point, you're the only person who sent me your minute so far.
Oh, we have one more week, right?
No, I think this was the last week.
Oh, was it the last week? Okay.
I think Sarah will have to tell me. Or
You're right. It's all over after Friday. Last Friday.
Well, darn, I should have just rested over the weekend then.
might not be in the best spot for cell service. All right, Commissioner Anna Hansen,
Present.
Commissioner Hank Hughes,
Present.
Commissioner Rudy Garcia,
Present.
and Chair Anna Hamilton.
Present.
And
we can,
would you like me to mark Chair Roy Ball as absent or excused, or shall we?
excused, please, and we'll make note if he joins us later.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you, very much appreciated, Yvonne. Are there any changes to the very brief agenda?
Madam Chair, we only have one action item, which is the whole purpose for this meeting. And so I don't think that we have any changes to the agenda. Thank you very much for all of you making the time for this meeting. I appreciate it.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner
I
Hanson.
will move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. I think we can do this by voice. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
I'm
You're
sorry to
opposed to-
interrupt, Madam Chair, because this meeting is entirely virtual under the AG's guidance. I think we have to do everything by roll call. I'm sorry.
Everything? Thank you very much. I thought, can I get a roll call for the vote on the agenda, please?
Of course. For the agenda, Commissioner Rudy Garcia,
Yes.
Commissioner Hank Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Anna Hansen,
Yes.
and Chair Anna Hamilton.
So we have an approved agenda. That takes us to the one action item, which is approval of an order imposing tax rates on the net taxable value of property allocated to the appropriate government units within Santa Fe County for 2021. Yvonne Herrera, are we going to you?
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The order before you, as read by Madam Chair, is approval of an order imposing the tax rates for tax year 21. Pursuant to Section 73833 NMSA 1978, the Secretary of the Department of Finance and Administration is required to issue a written order to set the property tax mill rates by September 1st. Then we have statute section 73834, which requires the Board of County Commissioners to issue its own order imposing the said tax rates within 5 days of receipt of the DFA written order. For tax year 21, DFA issued its order on September 1st, which included 2 certificate of property tax rates. The purpose for the 2 certificates this year is because of the election laws 50-year tune-up act, which was part of the laws of 2019, chapter 212, which requires the delay of the preparation of property tax bills for the tax year due to several school districts located wholly or partially within Santa Fe County that have property tax levy questions on the ballot of the November regular local election. Due to these circumstances, the act requires to DFA to, by written order, set 2 property tax rates. One set of rates which assumes that the property tax levy questions will be approved by the voters, whereas the second set of rates will assume that the property tax levy questions will not be approved by the voters. Likewise, the act also requires the board to issue its written order imposing the tax rates under both circumstances. The 3 school entities that have property tax mill levy questions on the November ballot include the Santa Fe Public Schools Board of Education, Moriarty Edgewood School Board, and the Pewaukee Valley School Board. The 2 certificates that are attached to the BCC order are described as follows. Certificate 1 is status quo, which is Exhibit 1. These rates assume that no mill levy questions will be approved by the majority of the voters, whereas certificate number 2, all pass, Exhibit number 2, this mill levy assumes, or these rates assume that the mill levy questions will be approved by the majority of the voters. After the November 21 regular local election results are confirmed, the county will receive another letter from DFA indicating one of the following outcomes. One, either confirming certificate 1 or 2 is the final order to be imposed, or 3, or issue a certificate number 3 in the event that not all mill levy questions are approved by the voters. Daniel, if you want to go to certificate number 1. So as previously indicated, certificate number 1 is the status quo, meaning that no mill levy questions will be approved. As you can, this is actually the computation that we prepared in the past to show the difference between the prior tax year, which is tax year 20, and tax year 21. If you scroll down for me, Daniel. As you can see, there's either no changes or minor changes, most likely due to either the yield control or the valuation of property, specifically residential. So keep scrolling down, Daniel. Where we're going to see the difference in the mill levies is on page 2, and it's related to the 3 schools. So in this case, the schools that are highlighted or that are in red, scroll down a little bit more, yeah. So the bond or the mill levy question related to the Santa Fe Public School Board is the capital improvement levy, which is under House Bill 33. As you can see, tax year 20, the mill levy was 1.5, 1.39 for residential due to yield control adjustments. But as you can see, under tax year 21, there would be no mill levy if the voters decided not to pass, not to approve that bond question. We have Pewaukee is the other school. This particular instance, Pewaukee's bond question or question is related to bond issuance. Per discussion with the public education department, there would be no change in the mill levy for the Pewaukee School District because they don't actually have a mill levy question countywide until the year 2025. So whether the voters approve the issuance of GO bonds or not, there would be no changes as indicated here. And then the other school, which is the Moriarty Edgewood School, we'll go down a little bit, Daniel. We'll see those line items. They actually had Senate Bill 9 capital improvement mill levy that if the voters did not approve, we would see no mill levy for those property tax owners. So in the instance of certificate 1, if the 2 mill levies for Santa Fe Public Schools and the Moriarty Edgewood School did not get passed by the voters, the homeowners would see between $150 savings and $200 savings in their property tax bill under certificate number 1. And if you want to just briefly scroll down through the rest of the pages, Daniel, we'll see that again, just minor changes to the mill levies between the 2 tax years, nothing significant for certificate number 1. And I think we're almost done, yeah. So certificate number 1, again, assumes that no mill levy question will be approved by the voters. Status quo, property tax owners under paying taxes for Santa Fe Public Schools and Moriarty Edgewood Public Schools would see a $150 to $200 savings on their property tax bill for tax year 21. If you want to go ahead and go to the 06, Daniel, the next tab over to your right, yeah. Certificate number 2, this is all pass, meaning all mill levy questions were to pass by the voters, which would basically indicate that for the 2 schools, that their capital improvement mill levy would continue to be imposed for those homeowners. All other property tax rates would stay the same that we just saw under certificate number 1. So if you want to go ahead and just go to page 2, Daniel, we can show the difference. And then the line items that are in blue are the mill levies that would be imposed if the voters did approve the questions in November. So for Santa Fe Public Schools, we see the House Bill 33 capital improvement mill levy of 1.5 for tax year 21, and we'd see just a slight increase in property taxes of $10.30 for every $100,000 in property valuation. Again, the Pewaukee School District, due to not being a countywide bond question, would have no impact on their mill levy, so their rates stay the same as we saw in certificate number 1. And then scroll down a little bit more to see the Moriarty tax rates. For Moriarty, theirs is actually the Senate Bill 9 capital improvement mill levy, which would be 2 mills. So we would see a $3.10 increase in the property tax if the voters decided to approve those questions in November. In the event, as previously stated, in the event that one of these is not approved by the voters, the DFA would issue a certificate number 3, indicating which mill levy was approved, thereby imposing that specific tax rate for those entities. The order in front of the board today actually addresses all 3 scenarios. So essentially after this BCC meeting, no additional action would be needed by the board. So if you want to bring up the BCC order, Daniel, and go to page 2 for me. So under the BCC, under the order, we have item number 1, in the event all property tax levy ballot questions are defeated, the property tax rates set by DFA in Exhibit A, which is status quo, are hereby imposed for the 2021 property tax year on the net taxable value of property allocated to the appropriate government units within Santa Fe County. Or we have number 2, in the event that all property tax levy ballot questions are approved, the property tax rates set by DFA in Exhibit B, which is all pass, are hereby imposed for the 2021 property tax year on the net taxable value of property allocated to the appropriate government units within Santa Fe County. And 3, in the event only some of the property tax levy ballot questions are approved and DFA issues a 3rd certificate of property tax rates in mills reflecting the election results on those ballot questions, BCC approves the imposition of the 2021 property tax of the tax rates set forth in that 3rd as yet unissued certificate of property tax rates and mills on the net taxable value of property allocated to the appropriate government units within Santa Fe County. So by including all 3 potential outcomes that occur in the November election, the board will essentially cover every single tax rate, any of those 3 tax rates that would need to be imposed for the tax year 2021. And with that, Madam Chair, I stand for any questions.
Thank you
I have
very
2
much.
questions.
Okay, Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you for the presentation. Appreciate it. Does actually, and I'm in an area, sorry, I'm traveling, might get a little, but Catherine, can you help me with this? So basically we have submitted, the tax assessor actually went and assessed properties and created a valuation. We actually created our budget. We submitted all of that to Department of Finance and Administration. And now they're giving us what our tax rates are allowable. What I just want to make sure is, we're not going to impose anything on the school districts to say, no, you can or cannot go after so many dollars for a bond. Is that correct?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Garcia, that's correct. So the election laws changed. So it's made the tax certificate issue a little more complex than usual because normally all those elections would already be done or they're scheduled in such a way by the school districts that they're done prior to us getting our the statutory requirement to approve the tax certificate. But when the election laws changed 2 years ago, it made schools have to do their elections in November, which is after we approve the tax certificate. So what we're actually in this order, we're saying, okay, here's how it is status quo if nothing passed, but here's how it would be if the school districts actually do pass mill levies or bond questions in November. And here's how it is if they go to the voters and they pass or they don't pass. So by you approving this order today, it allows any of those scenarios to happen in November, and that the tax rates and and by the way, we did actually have to allow the last go around. This happened. We actually had to allow for the school districts to have in the northern part of county a longer time to pay their tax bill because what went out in the tax bill was different once the election happened. So we had to revise those, and the state allows an extension on the payment of those bills if a bond passes and it was not in your original tax bill. So like I said, it's that change in election law has complicated things, but we have been able to accommodate the potential passage of bond questions that we did not anticipate when we sent out the tax bill. And the way this order is written, it allows for any of those possibilities.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Catherine. This also, this is a short meeting. This is a one-item agenda, but in reality, the way I look at this is this affects our entire electorate, individuals throughout Santa Fe County. Where it all starts is Santa Fe County with our team of everybody from finance assessors, people that work at public works, everybody in Santa Fe County sets our tax rate for how much money we get to spend and how much money we're budgeted for the next year and how much valuation is brought in. So this meeting can only be a one item. One thing on the agenda, but very, very important meeting. But if there's no other further questions, Madam Chair, I think our entire team at Santa Fe County is great. And for all do, but if there's no other questions, I'd like to make a motion for approval. This.
Okay. I have a motion.
I'll make a second.
So under the discussion, do other commissioners have questions? Commissioner Hughes.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say thank you for the explanation. And thanks for all the work that went into this. It looks very, very complicated. So thank you for doing all that computation.
Excellent. Commissioner Hanson, did you have something?
Madam Chair, no, I think this is perfectly fine. And thank you, Yvonne, for your explanation. And I'm ready to vote. Thank you.
To be honest, I think for the record, it would be useful just to get a very quick response that confirms that, one of the things we're doing that the staff did to get to today was confirm that the technical inputs that the state used to get to these rates were correct. And I assume that's what staff found. Manager Miller or Ms. Herrera, is that the case?
Madam Chair, I'll give, part of the process does require that the county reconfirm the rate set within the schedule. The treasurer's office will go in and will they will refoot everything, make sure that there are no rounding errors, which is what we found in the past. No other taxing entity indicated that the rates presented on the schedule were not expected or were different, which we've also had in the past. I think when Manager Miller mentioned the 2019, we actually did have a tax rate that was wrong in that schedule. So in the process, I do know that DFA does work with financial advisors in not only training their staff on how to determine the rates, but also ensuring that what rates they do issue for the different counties are correct. And then our job is just to verify those rates and make sure that everything balances, looks reasonable, which is where the computation spreadsheet came in. Anything that looks out of the ordinary, question that either through DFA or through PED, depending on if it's a impacting.
Madam Chair, can you have everyone speak into the mic a little bit more? I'm having trouble hearing you.
Sorry.
Yes, thank you.
So yes, we do go through that process. We do verify the information, not the actual calculation of it, but we do go through and make sure that if we have any questions related to it, we do contact DFA or PED for any of those significant adjustments that we can't see why it's occurred.
Excellent. Thank you, Director Herrera. Manager Miller?
Yes, Madam Chair. And the other thing is verifying also the valuations by type, residential, non-residential, within city limits, outside of city limits. So verifying with our assessors that we actually have the proper, so the whole process basically starts with the assessor valuing all the properties. That goes to property tax division. And then across the top of the certificate is what the rates are based upon the valuation in the particular taxing zone, let's call it, or geographic area where it's either in a city limit or in a school district or outside of a city limit and outside of a school district or community college district, etc. And then the other piece of it, so the things that drive your tax rate are total value of property, and then what you need to generate in order to pay debt service will drive your debt service rate, and valuation plus rate will generate your operating mills, which go up and down based upon what they call yield control. Run through all of those to make sure that what the state says those rates should be for Santa Fe County are what we believe what the valuation should be for the county are correct to what our assessor says they should be. And then one last piece, I want to make sure that it's on the record. Our debt service rate, we work with our financial advisors to keep a steady debt service rate of 2.12 mils, which is $2.12 per $1,000 of taxable value. And our rate is at 2.12, but that does assume that in the spring we will do a refunding for our 2013 general obligation bonds and expedite payments on those. So I did want to put that on the record. Otherwise, if we don't do that, then the rate drops and then it goes back up when we do our next bond issue. We work very hard to keep our rate flat so that we don't have a fluctuating rate to our homeowners and our property owners in the county.
Excellent. Thank you for getting all that on the record, both of you, Manager Miller and Director Herrera. So unless there are further questions, we have a motion and a second. And can I get a roll call vote?
Of course. Commissioner Rudy Garcia?
Yes.
Commissioner Hank Hughes?
Yes.
Yes.
And Chair Anna Hamilton?
Yes. So that passes unanimously for all who are present. That concludes the action items. Concluding business, are there any announcements? And if not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you. Attorney Schaefer, do we need a roll call vote for adjournment?
Technically, I believe the answer is yes, but I don't know that anyone would actually complain.
Okay, stand adjourned. Thank you so much. Thanks to everybody at the county staff for managing this.
Thank you, commissioners, for your time. I appreciate it.
Bye, everybody.